Hello, welcome back. So, today we're just gonna kind of fly. We're just gonna see where the wind takes us on our chat. But what's coming up for me is stuff that I talked about with my friend on our walk last night. Like, I felt like I was starting a bunch of cool thoughts, but I didn't really, follow through with them well. Because we were walking and also enjoying the nature, so you're kind of... But we were talking about, isolation and being alone, and how imperative and important that is for getting to know who you are. Now, not just in the sense of, what we talked about the last 3 days with, authenticity and staying aligned with who your authentic nature is, who you are, even, dissolving labels and things like that. But what it was really about is the more that you spend time alone, when you then are approached or put in a scenario where others are involved, including their energy, because it's not just what they're saying, it's not what they're doing, it's the energy of which they're kind of reverberating at, right? So there's a lot of us who don't even realize that we're picking up and absorbing and becoming the energy of others. We're not doing it consciously, we're not doing it on purpose, but when you're constantly surrounded by people, you're also constantly surrounded by their thoughts, their feelings, their energetic state. And that starts to kind of meld with your energetic state and your thoughts, because you're not just thinking for yourself. I can't remember if I talked about this before, so I'll bring it up real quick. When you go throughout your day and have experiences and interactions with others, and you're doing your work and things like that, you're collecting data, lots of data. But because you're doing things in the process, this data kind of just gets taken in. It gets digested, but it doesn't become metabolized yet into something that's understood until we sit with it later and look through it all. So you go throughout your day, you collect what I call it, the visual I like to see it as is confetti pieces. There's a bunch of confetti pieces. They're little tidbits of information that came throughout whatever else I was doing today. And the pile of confetti, it just keeps going. The more you go through stuff without taking the time to stop, address the pile of confetti, put the pieces together, see the message, see what it is you're supposed to metabolize and actually digest of that energy and those experiences. Those are the things, what's for me, what's not for me, things like that. So this pile of confetti's in there. And when we don't take time to be alone, and sort through the confetti, we're just going to add the next day, and then the next day, and the next day. Now you have 3 times the size of the pile sitting right in the center of your energy system. And that's when you start to feel brain fog, confusion, overwhelm, overthought, things of that nature. Your patience starts to dwindle. Everything seems to frustrate, trigger, and annoy you. Everything like that. Because what's happening is the confetti is taking up space and taking up. It's in the way of a flow motion. So we have to sit with it and place it where it needs to be every single day, multiple times a day even, because then it's easier to rifle through. And the reason you do this as well, going back to what I originally was talking about, knowing thyself, is then you start to realize that I'm feeling A, B, and C because of these confetti pieces. That's not me authentically. That's not who I am as a person. I am just now in this energetic state, or in this perception of seeing things, because of the confetti I've picked up throughout my day. So the more you do that, it's easier to differentiate what's you and what's subtle energy outside forces, environmental or others even. We think we know that, but you don't unless you have periods of time of being alone. It's beyond important. Because, so let's, like, getting into, like, when you're on your healing journey and you start unlocking your spiritual gifts in the sense of, like, your psychic abilities, you're starting to, like, know things before you actually know them. Like, it's simple. It's not like a movie. It's just, like, you walk into a room and you can feel it or whatever. Like my friend can hear the chatter. No one's really speaking, but the energy is translated to her in her mind's eye as words. Whereas personally, I'll just walk in and I can just feel it. There's no words attached, there's just feelings. So it goes to right, and how do you trust those feelings and trust that intuitive guidance or that psychic power, empowerment? Like, how do you trust that if you cannot decipher whether or not it's you and your thoughts and your emotions or others? Now, in my past, it was always me. And I thought it was others. But what it is I was feeling myself. And then I can sense where others might also feel that. So, in turn, though, I could also be causing, and back in my past, I could be causing the spread of my energy upon others by believing I was reading the environment purely, without a filter of, like, trauma or lack of knowing thyself. So it's harder to trust that because you're constantly like this. But if you can find who you are amongst that, like, no matter what, this is your homeostasis. How do you obtain homeostasis, though? How do you access that? How do you personally get into a space of literally just being, not thinking about what to do next, not ruminating about what have already happened, like this flow state of being? Alone time. Massive amounts of alone time, isolation. It's okay. It's really all right. I feel like we fear it because we are social creatures, but I believe anyone that's on the journey of self-healing, self-discovery, self-growth, and you've chosen that journey, you're like, hey, universe, God, whatever, like, I see what you're doing here and I accept it. I too want this growth. Once you make that decision, your path is now going to start unfolding in a way that'll get you to that self-mastery of that growth journey. But it will start with losing a bunch of things, right? Like, we talked about that the other day about being trusting, about moving into your authentic nature, because it's going to seem like at first like everything's falling apart, and it's going to feel, or it's going to seem, it's not going to feel, it's going to feel super right, but it's going to seem like a punishment for choosing this direction. And it's not. It's just that you finally decided to trust and surrender. So upon that, you are one of the chosen who are now going to be isolated. But it's not bad, because the self-knowledge gained through isolation, you don't have distractions, you don't have anyone to complain to, you don't have anyone to whine to, there's no excuses to make for anybody, because who are you going to give an excuse to? Yourself? So this is why isolation is so imperative for that self-growth journey, because we need to figure out what's us and what's the environment. Also going into thinking that the environment is always out to get us. No. Let's look at us. What are we doing? What are we imparting? What are we embodying to attract from our environment A, B, and C. So that's another thing that comes with the isolation, because you don't have somebody just sitting there, yeah, so-and-so sucks. Right, but like, what about, what more? And when we put labels on things like that, or we have a crowd or a group like that is just going to validate all of your half thought through things, we stop the buck there, right? Like, we don't do any further research. We don't do any further digging. We don't introspect to find out, well, maybe that person's a jerk because, like, I'm walking in the room A, B, and C. Like, we don't know. Like, it's not always just, like, we're not like these ultimate victims. Like, we mirror each other. We have the ability to also cause a hand in our own situations, especially if they're unfavorable. So when you are alone, you go, yeah, that man's a jerk. Then there's silence afterwards. And then these other thoughts come from seemingly out of nowhere, but it's not. It's all inside. And it's like, is he a jerk? How did you talk to him? What was your tone of voice? Did you validate the man? Did you overstep? Right, and like, that's okay. He can still just be a jerk. But it's important to go through that list. How did I carry myself in this scenario? How did I approach it? What did I bring to the table here to create that? Because what brought that topic up was when my friend was like, I'm not really sure what type of psychic I am, but like, I could hear people's chatter, but it's not what they're saying. Like, it's what they're feeling, but I can hear it as words. And I was like, I have heard that be labeled as clairaudient. But then I was like, but see how, and then we both just kept walking because we were on a hike. And I was like, that's the problem with labels. That's the problem. Because it's not just that, like wrap you up in a little bow and throw you out the window. No, you are a multifaceted human being. So yeah, she's got clairaudience, let's say, like the top title. But like, take the title away and really think about it. It's her way of translating emotions and subtle energy into logic. And that's super cool, because now I want to dive down into, because I know she loves research, she loves learning new things, so it gets me thinking, like, that's a part of her special skills. Like, her special skills as a researcher and a knowledge person, it comes back to logic. And then her and I reading the same room, we'll get the same message, because we tested that on the hike. We thought it was really fun. We tested that message, and it's like we both got the same message, but the way that it's delivered to us is differently. Mine's way more emotional. Like, I just feel the thoughts. I don't hear the actual words, and I can very much suss a situation out before it happens, because I'm already moving away from it, or, you know, because you feel it all in your chest, whereas she's seeing it or thinking it's all the logic, the words. So then that makes me want to go dive even deeper into, like, the fact that we both have water moons, which is our emotional side, right? And I also believe it's where we get a lot of our intuition, because it's our emotions, and we're locked into our feelings center. She's a Scorpio moon. I'm a Cancer moon. So now I want to start thinking about that, the differences between a Scorpio emotionally and a Cancer with emotions. And when you just briefly look at it, it's like Cancer moons, very emotional. We feel super deep. We feel everything, but don't necessarily have like words to it. So it can sometimes cause a bit overwhelm. So and that's why Cancers are in home. They love their home and they love their personal space, and that's like them in their shell, because that's when you can really, acclimate and get back to homeostasis as a home and alone. And meanwhile, so you're looking at the Scorpio emotion, still a water sign, equally as feeling and deep. However, with that Scorpio stinger, it gives me like a feeling of, yes, I feel very deep and emotional, but also there's a logic to it, like a certain amount of making sense to it. And when you look at her and I in comparison, that is like her personality type versus mine. Like, I'll just feel it and I'll be like, I gotta go do what I need to go do for the things. And like, she'll have like logic and research and knowledge that comes from that feeling. And me, I might have to go into my crab shell for a while and then come out later still a little vulnerable and tender, and she's already like walking in her empowerment about whatever. So, and they're equally important, they're equally beautiful, emotional moon signs, but I'm starting to now recognize the differentiation between those water signs. You know, like, and how that could be linked to your psychic abilities or your ability to read energy and how you're deciphering that energy. So we talked about yesterday, abolishing labels. I'm still for that because we tested it out on that walk. That conversation was just going to end with clairaudience. And then I was like, no, just finished making a video about abolishing labels. And the fact that the reason we abolish labels is so that we can deeper dive. When you got the label on it, we stop there. We stop the buck. Like when you label yourself as a group, people just stop there. They're like, we know about that group enough, and we're just gonna. And I'm not saying that that's not a fault on people. It is. We should take the time to learn people, even though they slap a label on their forehead. But also, we as people need to start recognizing that label is stopping the understanding, the deeper understanding of self with others and that connection. Because then, I'm just going to label you, put you in the file folder, that's who you are, I never need to look at it again. Like, I just know. And, like, that's a bummer, because there's so many other multifacets to that person, but there's a label on it, so they're in the folder over there. They can't come out of that folder and go over here, or else chaos. So, I believe that it's both. It's people stopping the buck at labeling you, but then it's also us labeling ourselves that's creating an ostracized society from understanding each other. You know, I'm a mom, cool, stamp. But like, what about, you're not just a mom. You're not just your job. You're not these labels. Like, you're this human. You may enjoy, I love making balms and salves and things that heal your skin from herbs and natural earth-grown materials. But I'm not going to call myself a kitchen witch. I don't know anything about that. That's a craziest, label to put on myself. I don't even know that realm. That would be, rude of me, right? So then where do I belong? What's my label? It doesn't need to be. It doesn't need to be. That's what I'm saying. And I struggled with that for a while, though. Because, where do I belong? I've got crystals, and I carve gemstones, and I also heal myself with smelly smells, aromatherapy. I also need, I have really sensitive skin, so I had to come up with, this whole line of skincare products that are all natural that I just, made myself. It was all out of a personal necessity and need from what my own soul needed to heal. So when you really if you really want to label it as something, you label it as healing tools, energetic healing tools, or earth wisdom, utilizing what God has given us to feel better, to not feel this disconnect and this loneliness and this isolation, because it's good to be isolated. Not all the time, but it is good to have those things. So when you're going through those deep shadow work moments or those isolating moments where you're to learn yourself, that's where these tools come in. So, and I think every single human being could benefit from these tools. I haven't met one person who, even if they don't even know anything about this realm of energy work and crystals and they don't know anything about it, and I give them a certain thing, a certain roll-on to sniff, they smell it, they're like, wow, that made me feel blunt, blunt, blunt. And I'm like, yes, because that's it interacting with your olfactory senses in your brain, sending signals to your amygdala to calm the F down. Right? That's just science. Science. So abolishing labels also opens up tools for everyone to use, and it also makes it less scary for other people. I know that maybe that might not be where you're at in your journey, feeling the need or the purpose to help others or at least like bestow a certain thing upon others. Like, but I feel that call. I feel that it's really important, and I don't want to just only help out people who like crystals or only believe in Reiki, or you know what I mean? Like, everyone can benefit from these tools. Everyone. And when we abolish labels within ourselves, we then also start to recognize that need, that purpose of spreading and sharing these tools with others. I don't think you should go out of your way. No, it's just a way of being. It's a state of being, of who you are. And then that just kind of like echoes out to other people. So, but if we, once again, we put on this label, we shut ourselves down from maybe being more inclusive, right? Exclusive, just open to everybody. And also we get judged too with the labels. And I'm not saying don't label yourself because you're afraid of judgment. That's not it. Like, don't fear anything. The label's not for that. The lack of label, the abolishing of labels is not so that you can just blend in and, you know, not create any waves. I still want you to create waves of abnormalcy, you know, like stepping into this true state of being that's not the same as everyone else, you know. Uniqueness is still is still a priority, is still something that we really need in our society. So the reason you abolish the label, though, is so that you could just have a free-flowing conversation. And then you could be like, oh, yeah. All right, for instance, like, I church up, right? You don't have to be a Catholic to think it's... You don't need to be Catholic or Christian to benefit from this story of Jesus getting mad that this marketplace was selling stuff at a synagogue. They were using the synagogue, the temple, as a marketplace. And he was like, what the hell, bro? Like, people come here for seeking serenity and peace, and you're hawking pigeons at me right now. So he got pissed. He starts letting birds out of cages. He's flipping tables. He's like, this is disrespectful as shit. I'm trying to be peace. Right? And I tell that story to people all the time when it comes to your boundaries and standing in your power. Because there is a place, a righteous place for righteous anger. There is. And when we're not authentic, when we're just, light and love only, you're not winning any wars that way. You're not winning any spiritual battles that way. You need to get tough with your values. You need to stand up for those morals, you know? You can do it politely. If you're nervous to be like Jesus and flip tables, I know I would be. I'd be like shaking. But there's other ways. You can be like, hey, this is disrespectful. I don't appreciate this. You know, if you don't leave, like, you know, I mean, in his situation, that was a little different. I probably would have flipped tables too, because no one was really supporting that idea. But nowadays, it's a little easier. We got boundaries and stuff. We could say our boundaries, and then if this person continuously steps over our boundaries, you just cut them off. Get rid of them. Never talk to them again. Right, boundaries are showing people where the front door is. It doesn't mean you don't want them to come in. You just don't want them Kool-Aid Manning through the wall. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, that's my sheetrock. Like, you're reading a book and someone's just like, Kool-Aid. Like, door's over there, home dog. So, and if you show them the door, and the next time they come over, they go through the window, that's it. You're not allowed over my house anymore, dog. I don't know why you can't figure out how to use a door, but, like, that's not up to me to teach you. Someone should have taught you that a long time ago. So, boundary line, now there's no more door for you, or window, or Kool-Aid Manning through my door, like, or through my wall. So, boundaries, authenticity, right, okay. So, right, telling stories about Jesus, right. That story resonates with literally any human being I tell. Atheist, Jewish, somebody who's not a believer, whatever. It doesn't matter. Because It's just people doing people things that inspired other people to write it down and share with future people. It's people helping people helping people. Collective consciousness. You don't gotta read deeper into it. I don't need you to start praying the Lord's Prayer before dinner every night. Like, you can still resonate with that story though, right? You can. Or like the other day when I told a man that we retain extra water when you eat too much salt. And then it puts stress and strain on your kidneys and your liver, I believe. So, and it will show up by excess like floof, like your water weight, like you're little like bloated. So, sure, I'm sure there's a pill for that. But guess what? There's also fruit for that. Peaches, bananas. I don't remember the whole list off the top of my head because I just went and got bananas and strawberries about it. But like, yeah, I started realizing I was retaining too much water. I Googled what's the counteractive from eating too much salt, because when I asked my intuition, sat in stillness, sat in isolation, and I was like, yo, home dog, what's going on with my body? My brain was like, or my heart or whatever, it was just like, you eating too much salt on those potatoes. And I was like, oh, but I love it. And then my body was like, sure, so just give it what it needs to balance that. So then I Googled, how do I balance that? And it was like, here you go. Fruits. So then I went in, I was out in the public, and I like mentioned that to this older gentleman, and I was like, yeah, dude, less pills, more fruit, more balance. And he like laughed, like he was just like, all right, that's kind of cool, but like he's at that age where he's probably on like 5 different medications, you know, like just to be okay. And he kind of like giggled about it, but I was just like, I feel like he wouldn't have even been open to talking to me about it if I came in with this air upon me or this label of like, I'm a nutritionist. No, nobody wants to listen to that. I don't know. Well, maybe people do. Like, you can go like pay for a nutritionist. Like, that's because you want that. You're choosing that. But not everybody is making choices like that, but I still like to spread the word. You know what I mean? So how do you do it in a way that doesn't shut people down? And I think that comes from your authenticity too. That lack of label, that lack of ego behind the knowledge. It's just like, I have this knowledge, bro. Let's do it together. Yeah. So that's why I stopped the labels, because we stopped there. Like you figured yourself out enough to put the label, but then what happens if like it's not fully 100% aligned with that label, and you don't find out until like 5 years from now, but you're already like waist deep in some sort of project or idea that you decided to create based off of the label, and it's not truly actually who you are, and now you're just back to square one, and you have to now dismantle another infrastructure. So, because like I got nervous about that too. Like I get really wary when people try to call me a crystal healer. I am not a crystal healer. Like, what does that even mean? They do the work. I'm not, just because I touched it doesn't mean it's like extra. No. Yes, I have a great channeling communication with that of earth type earthy things, but I don't know what people think about when they think crystal healer, and I don't want them creating a narrative that's not me, because it has happened before, and then people want to know more about my practice, and I'm like, I don't do whatever it is that you've seen before. That's not what it's more intuitive. I'm just kind of like vibing, but it's those labels that scare me. Because it's too much. It's like, is that me, or is that now the label? And do I have to now go out and research and study and become more the label to make it valid and make it feel right? Or just like say F it to the label and just keep doing what makes you feel right and good and just intuitively like you. And if that means that you're able to pair people with crystals that'll help them with further their intention, then so be it. Or if you can pair them with a tea, so be it. Or if you can pair them with an essential oil that could help them and calm their nervous system, so be it. That's great. That's amazing. I love that. Like, let that be what it is. You know, just intuitive, collective healing. Like, let's share our tools. Like, our tools that I learned to help myself, then I'm going to utilize those tools to help others. Like, if you learned yoga for being tight, and now you're inspired to teach other people who are extra tight to do that yoga, like, it's great. Like, I still feel like I'm lacking the full words of what I'm trying to say the last couple days about these labels, but because it's we're people. We're just people. Some of us has been on this journey longer than others, and that makes us guides. Some of us have more of a clear channel with certain materials, earth materials, or certain cosmic materials like astrology. So be it. Like, those are like, the reason that you're good at those things is because it's a part of your natural way of being. So, like, explore that longer before you want to be like, I'm an astrologist, or like, I'm a this, or I'm a that. You know, like, just take your time, get into it. Like, I'm not going to call myself a gemologist because I carve stones. I don't even know what a gemologist is, man. Like, I don't, like, let life be easy. Let stuff be easy. Let stuff just, like, come and happen and just be. And allow whatever evolves from that state of just being, allow that to become how others want to perceive you. Don't go out of your way, though, to formulate. It's going to shut you down from the extended version of self-knowledge and growth. That's self-mastery. Just get rid of those labels and keep moving forward. Keep following that intuition. What's the new thing? Because now you're in alignment with your authentic nature. These messages are going to start coming, and you're going to try 1,000 different things before you start to really, like, curtail the path that you want to be on, or the path that's going to suit you the best. So don't knock anything before you try it, but also don't try crazy drugs. Like, you don't really need to be doing that. Like, you don't need to be, like, becoming an alcoholic and ruining things and hitting rock bottom. I'm not saying that. There's other ways to work with this. I'm just saying that because that's kind of what happened to me. Got a little cray up there. But yeah, there's just, right, isolating, do isolating in alone time, like, just do these things more intentionally on purpose. All right, we'll continue another time. Just making these small segmented videos for now because I don't want to just ramble. I want to make them juicy, make them good to the point, and then we can move on. If anyone has any topics they'd like discussed or further divulge into this topic of labels and how labels can not intentionally but kind of accidentally also hold you back from fully learning who you are authentically. Awesome. Today's been like a weird day. Like, anything I do or say immediately after, I'm just like, forgot. I'm just like right here. It's sunny out because we just had a thunderstorm, and like all the raindrops on the window are illuminated and super cool right now. And like, I'm just there now. That's why another reason we have to stop the video, because like, we're having one of those days. We're having an energetic day that's a little lethargic, it's a little groggy, I wouldn't say brain foggy, just very mindful. Like, my brain's not allowing me to hold past or future at all right now. Which is kind of a blessing, but at the same time, I'm like, did I do that? I'm like, If I didn't, it'll come up to be done another time. So, that's something we can talk about too next time, is reading and understanding the ebbs and flows of the Shaman resonance, which is the Earth's collective heartbeat, and what that means, where you're gathering that information from. Everything, yeah, we'll do that. All right, have a great rest of your day. See you guys.